Everyone, it's Karen and I'm back to share my first design team project for AngeldreamCraftsKim on Etsy for the month of January 2023. And as I mentioned in my design team package video, this month my projects were both going to be about fairies, and this is the first one, and it is a doily and lace book, and it has all fabric images on it, or in it, that I printed from a digital download that I purchased, and I did a lot of stitching, hand stitching, adding of beads as well onto these fabric images. It's a beautiful, soft, sort of silky fabric. And then I did embroidery stitching and a lot of French knots. There's also there's stitching on the wings, and I stickled them as well. And then from there, after having all the images done, then I added in all of these gorgeous laces and trims and bows and blings from Kim's shop, and you will find the links to AngeldreamCraftsKim in the description box below. Also the link to the Facebook group and the Instagram, and also a link to all the designers who are currently designing beautiful and inspirational projects for you, showing all the products that Kim has, or many of the products that Kim has in the store. You really need to go over to the store and have a look for yourself to see all the beautiful things she has. This is doilies that are held together by a couple of rings here on the side, metal rings, and then I tied a whole bunch of laces and trims all around the rings, so you only get a glimpse of the rings really. The rest is just jam-packed full of some tulle, some of the trims from my design team package, some things from my own stash. You can see this is one of the trims from my design team package, as is this one, the pink ones, and then the leaf trim. And I just wanted to load them up so that these were just loaded with lots of yummy goodness. And then just above the rings, right on sort of the spine of this little doily and lace book, I put two of the taupe colored bows that were in my design team package. And I used quite a few of the bows in this project in both, I think I used all three of the colors, pink, white, and the taupe. And I will show you something else. Of course, you might have noticed already on the front cover that I did with these bows. And then this was a charm that I had from last year from AngeldreamCraftsKim. I had more than one initially given to me, and I wanted to include it here, and it says dream on it, and I just attached that there on the edge. I made one of my little tiny, this one I call as a flower fairy, not very different from my angels that I make, but I do for my flower fairies, I add little flowers on them, and so she has a little flower in her hair and a little one on her bead here that makes her body, and then she has one of the flowers from the trims that Kim gave me, and that's this one here. I just used one of these little flowers and cut off one of the petals, and then I put it behind her as her wings, and then I added stickles to it. So she's hanging there from the bottom of the spine on this little book as well. Measurements. Always a good question, and have it ready. So it's 4 by 5, and then there's dangles at the bottom, probably another 2 inches of dangles out the bottom in total. So I'll give you a good look at the bottom right now. There's 2 types of dangles. There's the leaf dangle, and then this trim here that was in my design team package has this pretty dangle on it, and that's what makes up the other parts of the dangles. They vary from page to page. And then along the edge of this trim, I added in the 2mm pink rhinestone cup chain that Kim has in the shop. That's from my design team package in December. But of course, you get a whole yard of it, so it goes a long way. I wanted to add a little piece on the front. And a couple of the little heart blings that I had in my design team package. They're so pretty, sparkly, flat backs, and they have a pink tint to them. I added one of my own little flat back pearly beads in the center there. And then both sides of the page on this one, I've got the pink lace, very soft pink lace that was in my design team package. And at the top, I have one of the beautiful vintage laces from my design team package that I just absolutely adore. And it looks like this. And so you can see I just cut off this piece from here to here, and I use that to put at the top of the page here to peek out. And then here's what I did with one of the bows. I did this a couple of times. I made them into little butterflies. And it's a really simple thing to do. You take one of the bows from the package, and they're big, and so but they're loose, so you can still pull them. So you pull the tails down really to make the top smaller, and then give it a really good pull, and that gives you now some more tail room, but it also reduces the size of your wings. But I mean, that's what you want. You don't want them to be too big. And then you just fold this piece back and glue it on the back with a dot of hot glue or fabric glue, whatever you use. And then fold this one back. So that gives you your two, and adjust them. That gives you your two bottom wings. And you just cut off this little extra piece, so you can see they're folded to the back. Then I wound some beads around and made the antennae, but you could also just the cup chain around, and you have this pretty little butterfly. And I probably should have had my hot glue gun on, so I could have dabbed the glue on and shown you how easy. It looks fiddly because I don't have them glued, but they do pull down, and they can be manipulated to look just like this. And then you can add, and I use some 24 gauge wire here and just roll down the ends, but you could use, also you'll see that I have used other things for antennae on my other butterflies that also work if you don't have any wire. So that's the first little fairy, super cute in pink with the mushrooms. Gorgeous little pink flower trim that was in my design team package, added on there as well. And then when we turn the page, we have two more little fairies. Again, the bottom is all these beautiful trims, and on these two pages I used both of the pieces of this trim. One side has the large flower with the little heart in between, and this side has the two hearts with one flower in between. And then I added another piece of this trim at the top so that they back each other, but I left them open so there's some movement. I added the pink floral trim down the side, and I added some pearls in the center of those little flowers. I added the other pink trim that I had in my design team package. I cut little pieces of it off and added it in the corners here. And then this little fairy, of course, is again printed on that silky fabric. She's got embroidery work all done through her and around her. I'll bring her up close so that you can see. And then also stickled her wings over the embroidery stitches that I did as well. These are little tiny cross stitches done all the way down the front of her leggings and onto her shoes. And that, of course, was stamped on the image, but I just went over it with my chosen color. And then these are little beads that are on top of the mushroom here. And then I had these little sequins in floral shapes and in different shapes. So I added them in with little beads in the center to add more to the floral part on the bottom of the image. And there's another one of her Kim's sparkly hearts here in the center of one of her pink bows. And that finishes off that page. And this one, the image is pink, but she has yellow flowers around her. And these are all, again, embroidery stitched. And I've added sewn in beads in the center of those flowers. Added one of the pink flowers from Kim's trim. Added a little bulb pin. Kim has had them or does have them in the shop. I'm not sure if she still has them in stock. And just a little crystal heart hanging in the corner here. Her beautiful daisy trim that was in my design team package up the side here with flat back pearls from my stash added in the center. This is the top of the leaf trim. I cut it off and used it at the top of the image here. And then another little piece of lace that I had, I believe it was in last month's design team package. I just wanted to put something on the tops of the next couple of pages. So this is the lace here. It's really pretty. And I just cut off this side just along here and used that piece in here and on the next page to just finish off the top a bit. And then this is one of my little beaded butterflies. And here for antennae, you see I use just embroidery floss, and I just stiffen it with a bit of my art glitter glue, and then it works really well for antennae. So you can use that with the ribbon butterflies as well. And embroidery floss is really inexpensive, so it's something that's quite doable. And then she's all stitched as well. She's had the cutest little shoes from right, and they came down, and I added a little French knot right on the front. And then some of the threads I used had a satiny finish to them, and then some were regular embroidery floss. A little waistband on her dress I did with the same really satiny looking embroidery floss, and a few of the flowers in her hair are some of those, and then white and pink. I outlined her wings in a white embroidery thread, has a bit of a shine to it, and then I also added stickles, so they're quite sparkly. And I have taken off, I thought I had all the glue strings off, and lo and behold, there was another one. Next page is one of the fairy houses, and it has some stitching done in the doorway and up the tree, and I did a loopy woolen threaded stitch all at the top of the tree here, so it has texture and you can feel all the loops. And then there was a little tiny fairy sitting up there, and I did some embroidery work on her as well, and then I also stickled her wings with some pink stickles. And then this is the leaf trim from Kim's shop. Of course, it's at the bottom on this page as well. And again, there's a little piece of the top piece. So what I did was I wanted to use the leaf trim, but the part of the leaf trim that is connected to the leaves is this one. And I didn't really care for that very much, but this is the one that runs along the top, is this one. And I liked it more. So what I did was I just cut off a piece of this, and then I cut off the leaves, and then I pieced it all together. So I put that little trim there on top of where I had placed the leaves, and then they were too long, and so I just cut them off. And the extra pieces from the bottom, in this particular case, I used some of them to do this piecing up the side, and I dyed these with some Tim Holtz Distress ink, a spray. I just sprayed them and let them dry, and they turned out really nice. I really like how they turned out. And I added another one of those cute little flowers there from her flower trim. And this is another lace that I had left over from a previous design team project. Kim may still have that in the shop. It's a really pretty lace too, and I added that down the side of this page. And there I made another one of the little bows into a butterfly, and this time I added a piece of that pink trim, and I know I have some left. So here it is here, and all I did was take just a piece, two pieces like that. I just cut this off, and I cut it off of here, and I used that for the middle of the butterfly, and then just added a couple of little mesh blings in the center of that are a pinky shade. And there's all the lovely dangles on the bottom of that page. And then this one is a little yellow fairy. And I think it's cute too. In between the pages here, you can see this little flower fairy. She dangles down here, and she can either face forward or backwards. And so she kind of dangles here, and you get little glimpses of her between the pages. I think that's really cute. So this page, again, stitching all on her dress and in her hair and French knots. Her wings are done in a silver embroidery floss and then stickled. And then I added in some of my own tatted butterflies, and then this beautiful daisy trim that I had in my design team package. And it comes like this. And I just cut some of them apart and actually cut some of them even in half. So I have two full ones here, and then I have a half one tucked underneath here and another half peeking out over here. And there's these little white flowers that I stitched with white with green centers were part of the image. But I just wanted to pull it all together and make it look like there was even more depth to it. So there's the little white flowers on top of the embroidered ones. And then I added some little green flat back pearly beads that I had in my stash to the center, so they all had green centers. These are beads that are all sewn on here, and the embroidery floss for all the greenery. And then again, some of those little sequins with pink beads on them just added to the bottom to add a little bit more sparkle, because fairies there's always sparkle. Always got to be sparkle. And on this page, on the pin, I have hung a little fairy. Kim did have these in her shop at one time, and she's probably going to get them in again, because I think these are very popular. And then I just put a few pink and clear beads on there. And oh, this trim here is also from Kim's shop, this little one here. And did I use it at the top? Yes, I did. It's a very fine little trim. You can see it well there, and it works really well as an edging trim, or a layering trim as I call it too. And this, of course, is that pink trim again, and this time it's on the outer edge. And the last two pages before we reach the back, I've got one that's just florals. So I did some ribbon embroidery on this page, and it's something that's new to me, and I'm learning to do more work with ribbon embroidery. And so I did these two flowers and this little bud here, and then the rest is just regular embroidery and the leaves. And then I sewed on little beads up here in pink, and then I put little green French knots up there. And then around the edge of this one, I used the leaf trim again and just draped it all around the edge. And this one, of course, is the top of that leaf trim, and then here's the bottom of the leaf trim here at the bottom, dangling down. So the pages alternate. If they have this on one side, except for I think the first two, they have this on one side, they'll have the leaf trim backing it on the other side. And then the total look is all this lusciousness at the bottom. Again, that white trim up the side here as well on the edge of the page, and a little bit of that lace from a previous design team package on the top of that one. And another one of her blings here, the little heart. And then the final page, the little fairy again. She's got embroidery stitching all on her dress in purple and green. And then her wings again were done with silver embroidery floss and then stickled. And then these little white flowers are all embroidered up here, and then they all have green beads in the center. And again, her beautiful pink floral trim down the side here with pink little flat back pearls in the center of the flowers. Her beautiful pink trim here and here and here, cut individual pieces and tucked it in. On the bottom of this page and on the bottom of this page, I cut individual little pieces of this one, and I just tucked them in behind the edging on these two pieces, just to kind of look like they're standing in a floral garden. Again, a little bit more sequins and beads, and then another one of those beautiful little bows made into a butterfly. I love them. I think they look so cute. And that beautiful trim on the bottom. This one has a little ball pin with some beads and made with love charm hanging on it. And then the back, and of course at the back you can again see those rings with all this lusciousness tied on them. So, so pretty. And at the back is the back of that doily. You can see that I used in the base of it a little bit of that pink trim from the previous page, the beautiful trim at the bottom. I added my own, these are crystals and flat back pearly beads in the centers of all the way through the book. And here's a bit of that daisy trim with some pearls added. This is one of my butterflies from my stash, and I added her in here. She is dimensional, and I actually sewed on this piece of 2mm cup chain, and this is from Kim's shop. I sewed that down the center and then glued the whole thing on. So there's a lot of sewing and then gluing as well in this book. And then one of the beautiful taupe bows on the back here, another piece of that gorgeous trim that's so, so pretty, and it was on the other page as well at the top. So there's a couple layers of it there, and then another one of those pink blings at the top of there. I'm really pleased with how she turned out. She's super pretty. There's lots of lusciousness there. Just move that page up a bit so it's all even. You can see all the prettiness from the top. Lots of beauty at the bottom. And then this whole side piece, I'm really pleased with how that turned out. It's just so pretty with the bows, and then all this prettiness tied onto there, and then the little charm and the little flower fairy too. I'm really happy with my first project for 2023 for AngeldreamCraftsKim on Etsy. Please go and visit the shop and buy some goodies for yourself to craft with. Visit the other designers to see what they're making and be inspired by what they are creating. And if you're interested, there's details in the description box below regarding I am selling her. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye for now.